Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
How's it going, everybody? Wildman Wes here.
I'm Rebecca.
And welcome to day 27 of SHOCKTOBERFEST 2024. Today we've got a more recent film that came out. It is 2021's Nightbooks. I was a little, nervous about it being like a PG-13 style horror film. But, when kids are involved in it, it's not really going to be rated R. So I had to just, we've done family-friendly films before, and, there's probably going to be at least one more by the end of the month.
Welcome.
I know. So this movie is about a young boy who loves horror movies. He loves the horror genre, his whole room, posters and books, and he's a writer. He writes horror fan fiction and all that until he realizes his best friend doesn't want to hang out with him anymore because he's weird. And he decides he's going to give everything up. He's going to burn his Nightbooks, as he calls them, all of the stories he's ever written. And eventually he goes down an elevator shaft in his apartment complex to a random hallway where he sees an empty room with a TV in the middle with the Lost Boys playing on the screen. And he gets sucked into the room, he blacks out, and wakes up in a witch's, basically, what do you want to call it? Just a mansion.
Apartment?
Yeah, it's pretty much a portal. It's a portal to a different location. And this witch is telling him that he has to write a horror story and read it to her every single night, one a night. And if he doesn't,
That's exhausting.
yeah, well, I mean, I would love to do that, but still, but for a witch, I don't know. That just, if my soul were on the line, yeah, that's where I would probably draw the line. But I'd say just take it.
I'd say like one a week.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. But anyways, while the boy is having his writer's block, there is a young girl that's actually in this dimension as well, where she tidies up the place for the most part. They start to develop a love and hate bond with each other. I mean, he wants to try to be friends with her. She really wants nothing to do with him because she had been taken there with a group of other friends prior, and they were trying to get away from this witch or trick her so they could escape. Now, while the boy is wanting to get rid of his writer's block, he comes across a lot of old horror books and old lore, German horror lore, and even things like Hansel and Gretel. And while he's reading through the books, he finds out that somebody was writing clues on how to get away from the witch or how to defeat the witch. And then when he puts everything together, he tells the biggest horror story where the witch eventually starts to lose a bit of her power. And then you find out after that the witch that he was trying to defeat was the last child that was writing the stories or the notes in all these books for clues, because the real witch was being trapped at bay. So these horror stories are to keep her at bay, so this witch can still fulfill her destiny to have power. And unfortunately for her, the boy and girl get out of there and they live happily ever after. And they become friends, and he gets back to writing all of his horror stories and being a horror fan. I mean, that made me happy. So now it's time to talk about what we like and what we don't like about the film. Let's talk about what we don't like first. Becca, you start, because I'm still thinking about it.
The vomit scene. Granted, it's Sam Raimi,
Yes.
but just the projectile vomiting, just... bleh.
I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I mean, Sam Raimi is known for the gross-out humor and horror with the projectile just of any type of fluid at this point. I mean, depending on Evil Dead or Drag Me to Hell, or even just his cool camera angles and the zooms and pans out of things like Spider-Man 2 and all the other movies. I mean, I'll have to disagree with you to a degree. I mean, yes, was it gross? Yeah, but effective. But anyways, anything else?
I mean, not much.
Okay.
honestly, like, I thought it was a pretty well put together movie.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
Entertaining.
like I said, I was worried at first. I'm thinking, oh boy, a PG-13, movie where it's gonna be these kids. You can tell that these kids are gonna try to swear, like drop some sort of a bomb. I mean, not necessarily the ones that would push it past PG-13, but I mean, like when I hear things like "gosh darn it" in a horror movie, I'm like.
Well,
was this made for TV or was this made for a real movie? Because that's the only thing that I can't say that I hate it. I understand because MPAA and viewers and whatnot do frown upon children swearing in movies sometimes. But regardless, it's something very, very minuscule, to be honest. So now we're going to talk about what we like. So Rebecca,
I just like that it was one that kind of kept me on my toes. Well, it had its predictability factors, like the girl that wants nothing to do with the boy, and then they're besties at the end. Like, that was pretty predictable. But outside of that, like, it was very on your toes. I didn't see the ending coming the way it did, by any means.
Neither did I, because I did leave out a little bit of information. The description of the film said it's a more modern take on Hansel and Gretel, which at the end there is a huge Hansel and Gretel ending, to a degree. But, I mean, how they did it was not ripping it off. I mean, it was complete 180. Like,
at all.
You started thinking, oh, is it going to happen the exact same way? It's like, no, not at all. Was not prepared, and all for the better.
Well, and I honestly wouldn't have even really known that it was a Hansel and Gretel had we not read that. And then the very end, we're kind of like, oh.
It all makes sense. Yeah. Other things I like, I mean, I love that because the main character, the boy, is this horror movie fanatic and horror enthusiast. He's got you name it. It's like he's got a Child's Play poster up. He's got a Nightmare on Elm Street. At one point, the Howling poster shows up. I mean, the Lost Boys reference. There's at one point when they're getting ready for battle and whatnot, you hear "Cry Little Sister" from the Lost Boys, and I was just like, "Oh, this is gonna get real. This is gonna get real," and I love it. Cast-wise, like the only the kids were played by actors I've never really heard of, but the main witch is played by Kristen Ritter. I've seen her more for things like Don't Mess with the Bee and Apartment 34, whatever the name is. And also Jessica Jones on the Marvel series. It's like she has this very dry, deadpan humor. She's the RBF. Let's just call it that. The RBF. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about.
Very RBF.
Yeah. So, but regardless, it works though, because that's just kind of, I wouldn't say it's like she's typecasted, but how she presents herself, how she performs for characters like this, it worked.
Absolutely.
It really worked. Because sometimes she comes off as a little off-putting to some. For me at times, yeah, but this one, I actually really admired her performance. I did.
Oh, I thought she did a great job.
Yeah. All right. It's about time we grade this film. I'll go first. I'm going to be, regardless of everything that might have, kind of made me go, huh? I love Sam Raimi, and, I'm a fanboy, so A+, because I feel that Sam Raimi really made this to be like a love letter to horror fans. Because, at times as we get older, sometimes horror movies and the horror genre kind of gets put to the wayside. And this definitely made me kind of feel like Step Brothers, where it was like, don't lose your dinosaur. It's like, never lose your Nightbooks, because, I love this movie. And, this is probably going to be a tradition every year to watch this.
I'm going to agree with you on an A+. It was entertaining. I enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed the suspense. I think I'm going to agree with you with an A+. And I don't want you to ever lose your Nightbooks.
I never will. Well, we hope you enjoyed our review on Nightbooks today. If you agree with us, leave a thumbs up. If you disagree with us, thumbs down. But just remember, Sam Raimi will send a camera zooming through your place with projectile vomit.
Yeah.
Other than that, make sure you share on social media, push that little red button, and don't forget to ring that bell for instant updates. Until then, I'm Wildman Wes.
I'm Rebecca.
And we will see you tomorrow for day 28 of SHOCKTOBERFEST 2024. We're getting close, folks. Take care, and as always, stay scared, kitties.